So let's go with the issue of insurance versus private pay. Clients or potential clients having to make that choice of whether or not they want to go to a therapist who does not take insurance, as opposed to seeing a therapist that is on their insurance panel or that does take insurance. And I've been taking insurance for many years, since the beginning, since I was first began practicing. And you do not take insurance, you take private pay, which a lot of therapists are doing more and more. And so I wanted us to just talk about why you've made that choice and compare it to why I continue to make the choice to be on insurance panels. And then I can kind of help clarify how people that do have insurance can get reimbursement and what they need to do to get reimbursement from seeing a therapist who takes private pay. Yep. So why did you make the decision to go into business as a therapist and not be on the insurance panels to start your business as a private pay business?
So it was certainly, from a business point of view and a business model, it was much easier for me to start that way at first, right? So if I can go and start a practice up without having to get paneled and work with insurance companies, the time to do it is at the beginning, to see, hey, okay, how does this private practice work? Am I able to see clients without paneling? Because it takes a lot of work to get going with an insurance, to get paneled with insurance, to get an MPI number, to apply to be in network with a provider.
And just for clarification, an NPI number is a National Provider Indicator, which is one of the first things that you have to do.
Yep.
You have to do that anyway, don't you?
Well, I do, but I don't have to. I mean, I don't have to take that information and then have to transfer it all over to the different networks out there, the Blue Cross, Cignas, the Medicare, Humana, all these companies.
Right.
So it just takes time, right? It's just another number that I've got to remember as well and put in or whatnot. And so if I was to open up this private practice, I said, well, let's see what this private practice looks like without taking insurance first. Let's see how well I can do or what I can do with it. And use the time that I would use to panel, use that time to network and to work with other therapists and just see what happens. I've got time. So I did. That's what I did. That's the first reason I chose it. And it's paid off because for the main reason is I don't have to spend time billing insurance providers.
Exactly.
I don't have to spend much time doing billing at all. A lot of times my clients just go onto my portal that I have set up and they do my portal sends a statement to them and then they pay it on the portal. So there's not a lot of me handling any kind of money. I've got a system that does it all for me. So when they leave session, the only thing I have to do is I go in and I schedule my clients and then I cancel for them or they cancel as well. And so when the session ends, they get my billing automatically bills them. And then they hit okay, however they need to pay it. And that's much easier than me having to go to an insurance company and saying, hey, this person had this many sessions, or do pre-approvals. Those take time of having to call into a insurance company and say, hey, will you approve this amount of sessions for this person?
The pre-authorization is what you're talking about.
Or the client having to do it. Sometimes they've got to do it themselves. And that's just another barrier of saying, hey, you need to contact your insurance company and get this pre-authorized.
If that is part of their plan.
Right. And that's a barrier to me. Whereas
there's a lot of barriers.
Yeah.
There's a lot of barriers, and we'll go through some. There's a lot of advantages, but there's a lot of barriers.
Right. Whereas it's just, here's the logistics of my private practice of this session. Do you accept? Yep. All right, you're scheduled. I mean, it's pretty simple to get in with me. And it's simple to get in with individuals that take insurance as well. Like, I know how easy it is for many clients to be able to book with you, Carla. It's pretty simple.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I want to eliminate as much time as possible. I want to get you in the doors, and make it as easy as possible for my client.
Right.
Now, here's the other advantage is I also, the way I do my private practice is I have what's called blocks, and they're 4-hour blocks. Okay. So in a day, a lot of times I will have 2 blocks. So that's 8 hours. And that allows me to see anywhere from 0 to 8 clients if I have 2 blocks a day. Some days I only have 1 block. But what I've done is I've attributed 1 block to what I call my sliding scale fee. So I can adjust, I can decide with my client how much to charge them. And then I have an additional block to half block or whatnot, where I decide, okay, some clients really need EMDR. They have to have it. And it's going to work well with this client. And I may choose to do a completely 8 sessions for free for that client. And so self-pay allows me to do that, to make those decisions where I don't have to think about the finances as much of my business. Is my business going to survive if I take on 4 clients at reduced fee or a 0 fee at all?
Some at a free fee.
Yeah.
And because you're not on the insurance panels and have that contractual arrangement, you can do that.
And I don't have to worry about insurances coming in and auditing either. I also don't ever have to give you a diagnosis. If you don't want a diagnosis, I don't have to give it to you. Of course, most of the, and I can even use trauma as the diagnosis. Whereas some insurance companies, if I diagnose somebody that has trauma, if I don't give them PTSD and if I put trauma on there, obviously that's going to get kicked back. Meaning I'm not going to get paid for those services that I provided. So, that's the big advantages for me. I mean, it's just a time saver. I can spend more time on myself for self-care and more time with my client.
Do you find, because of the fact that clients come in with the idea that they are going to have a limited number of sessions? In other words, we're going to do 8 to 10 sessions. This is going to be, cost me X amount of dollars for this entire series, and I can afford that.
That's another benefit of working with EMDR is a lot of times, sometimes, they're not going to have a lot of sessions. It's few sessions.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes some clients end up paying more with insurance because they haven't made their deductible.
Correct.
And so that's also a possibility and so they actually end up paying less with me than they would with the insurance company if they have or have not met their deductible. So like, I'm not going to, if their deductible is $8,000, I'm not going to expect someone to spend $8,000 of therapy with me. Like, that's just not going to happen.
Well, they're not going to, and the way that works from an insurance perspective is that if you are contractually arranged, if you see a therapist such as someone like me who has a contractual agreement, say with one of the big insurance companies, United Healthcare, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Cigna, then I have to bill that session. There's a contractual agreement as to how much each of those insurance companies will pay, what the allowed amount is, and that is applied to their deductible. And then, in other words, I can't bill them a certain amount. I have to do a contractual write-off and
Right.
only accept what's allowable. That will become the client fee, and they pay that, and then that's applied to their deductible.
Through the years, does that adjust?
What do you mean?
Does the insurance company come back to you yearly or from time to time, quarterly, or how often they come to you and say, we're going to adjust how much you're allowed to charge this client?
They set a different fee every year. The way it has worked over the 30-year plus, 30 years that I've been doing it is they set a reimbursement fee and an allowable fee on an annual basis. So it just depends. So it may go up $2 or $3 per session each year in terms of what they will reimburse and what they will call the allowable amount. But every insurance plan is different. So you have to know your plan, and most of the time people can go online. I, as a contracted therapist, clinician, can go on. We have our provider portals that we can go online and be able to see all of your benefits in terms of, does your insurance pay for only network providers, which generally speaking, that would be a HMO, or is it a PPO where you can see providers who are in network and out of network, which would be beneficial in your case, because what they can do, if they can see an out of network provider, they can get that super bill or receipt, an itemized statement. It is preferable or usually on a super bill. And then they can go onto their insurance company and generally upload those receipts and file them online. And it will either be applied to their deductible, or it will be reimbursed back to them at a lower percentage rate than it would be if the provider was contracted with that insurance company. So there are ways that your clients can get possible reimbursement or make sure it is applied to their deductible, because it will help them in other areas, not just in mental health, in their all of their medical billing. What about clients who are looking for long-term, say, because a lot of clients I have been seeing for, as you know, a number of years. I am a primary care therapist. I am like a primary care physician, where people continue to come back to me, some 20 plus years at this point.
Yeah.
Now that's not every week. That may be every other week. That may be once a month. And some people continue for a number of years at once a week. But it's an ongoing therapeutic intervention, or a therapy, how should I put this? And it's an ongoing, ongoing part of their life.
Right.
And do you know of people in your practice that have clients that they've been seeing for a number of years that continue to pay privately?
Yes, there are quite a few. And that happens, right? Some people, when they have a connection with that
Yeah.
therapist, they're gonna pay privately. Now, again, I have this rule that I use just within my practice is, if you start with me, you sign my consent paperwork, and we have a fee agreement, I'm going to lock you into that fee agreement from the day one that you started. And if I so decide down the road, 2 weeks later, for some reason, my fees go up, I'm going to, I'm going to adhere to the original fee agreement that we made.
Okay.
I'm going to stick with that. Now, some therapists don't do that.
They renegotiate.
Yeah, they're going to say, listen, my fees went up. What are we going to do about that? But I see it often. We can use, we can use my wife as an example. And we can even use me for an example. If I go to therapy, or if my wife, for example, goes to therapy, we continue to pay out of pocket for that therapist, because we have a relationship with that therapist and we really like that therapist a lot. And that therapist to us is worth that amount of money to us. And
Well,
so,
and the way I see therapy is it is part of self-care. It's
right,
like being a member of a gym. It's like getting a massage.
exactly, exactly.
It is a part of taking care of yourself that is very, very important. And it's a part of pampering yourself.
Yes.
And so people will be able to pay for that. What about the people that are on Medicare, Medicaid, that can't afford, they just really, they don't have the ability to do self-pay?
Yeah. So for a client that needed EMDR, we're probably doing sliding scale.
Okay.
And I take on a few of those clients at a time. So right now I have a waiting list. And so when one client finishes the treatment plan, within that block, remember I talked about, that's just what I do, is I keep a block. And when that client goes out and is discharged and successfully discharged, I've now got an opening for another sliding scale fee client to come in.
So do you see private pay versus insurance versus private pay? Do you see that as a upper income type of practice versus a upper and lower income for those that take insurance? Not that income matters in the sense of the therapeutic work, but it matters in terms of that individual's pocketbook and what they can afford to do.
Well, that's why I have those blocks, is because I want to make it, I'm a social worker. So I do want to make it available. I do. I want to make it available to individuals.
Because you have the specialty of the EMDR, which
Right.
a lot of people cannot get that, because so many of the therapists that are out there doing EMDR are generally private pay.
Right. They are. Many of them are. And like I said, It's because it is that way, that's why I've created a way to be able to see the individuals that normally cannot be seen because of their pocketbook.
And that is something that you will do, but
Not everybody.
not everybody's going to do that.
This is a choice that I made.
Right. And this just goes back to, say, for a client, a potential client that is searching for a therapist. If you cannot afford the private pay, or that therapist will not work with you on a sliding scale, and you have to use your benefits, that doesn't mean that you're going to get a therapist with lesser care or concern because they are not in the cash only or the
Right.
private pay arena.